The debut album from the Manchester-based punk and alternative rock group Spring King showcases an outfit that from the get-go shows a group that has a lot of untapped potential and could grow into something that can become widely appreciated. Unfortunately, Tell Me If You'd Like To registers, in my opinion at least, as a painfully frustrating album that could have been something fantastic, but is squandered, and believe it or not, it pains me to have said that. And the sad thing is that it didn't have to be like this. The album starts off fantastically with the first 3 tracks on the album where the instrumentation has so much energy and vigour to it that upon initial listening, you're expecting to be in for around 35 minutes of joyous, punk alternative rock bliss that will leave you wanting more. Unfortunately, the fire starts to fizzle out around the halfway point, gets brighter again, only to be completely snuffed out by the end of the album. Lyrically, the album deals with topics including love and relationships, life's mundanity and looking for the release from day-to-day crap, and lead singer Tarek Musa's general reflection on other aspects of life, as well as other miscellaneous subject matters. The topic of love and relationships appears 4 times on this album. The album's opening track, City, sees our lead in such unadulterated love that he doesn't want to let this person go. Detroit, where Musa hints towards being separated from someone special, probably whilst out on tour with the band, and all he desires to be is with that person. Both tracks, whilst pretty straightforward, are brought together terrifically due to the high-octane instrumentation, which we'll get to later. The track Rectifier, which reads as a love lost, Musa hinting towards constantly putting himself out there to try and break down his ex's walls and be more open, but in the end it didn't work out. And finally, the penultimate song, The Summer, which reads as Musa reflecting on someone who he had strong feelings for, the person in question recognising his feelings, yet for some reason the two grew apart and they ended up cutting contact completely. Other topics include the very punk notion of Musa's desire to beat the fuck out of someone on the titular track, which is pretty basic lyrically and doesn't exactly cause the righteous anger this song was aiming for. It's So Dark, which pushes the message of living life with no regrets, but again the lack of energy and earnestness causes the message to fall flat in the process. To the complete opposite end of the spectrum we have Who Are You, where the lead vocalises his frustrations of being at the bottom of the pile and simply wants to rise to the top, which does strike up a great deal of emotion. One of the strangest inclusions is found on the track Take Me Away, where Musa notices his mother displaying her hatred of part of the world's impoverished state, and Musa finds himself irked at being sold a lie by those in higher power that he desires for the world to take him away so that he doesn't have to deal with this. I like the idea of a song like this, but again, its presentation doesn't exactly fit the frame, and the notion of burying your head in the sand as a response doesn't seem like a feasible reaction. And the final track, Heaven, reads as an encouragement for those listening to be honest with themselves and speak their mind, but aesthetically is easily the most unlistenable track on the album. It feels like it was cobbled together and had very little in terms of care or consideration put into the song. Instrumentally, this is where the holes start forming. As previously mentioned, the first 3 tracks are forceful, energetic and glorious to the ears, and is the reason why these songs are the best on the album. All 3 containing driving guitar rhythms, punchy drum pieces and all-round flavourful and colourful sounds. Detroit and Who Are You being particular standout tracks, the first with its very brief electric guitar solo and the second with a saxophone solo in the bridge. A couple of other tracks that are also worth mentioning are the titular track with its stabbing guitar riffs that open up the track and are frequent throughout, and The Summer, where the undercurrent of bass guitar and rather restrained electric guitar with the keyboard synth complement one another nicely and the sound isn't half bad. But there are a few tracks where unfortunately they do sour what could have been something special. It's So Dark is placed as the 4th track on the album, and having to follow the first 3 songs, it finds itself in the undesired position in the album, and in comparison, the instrumentation is simply cruising and doesn't quite pack as much energy. The guitars on Demons lack a certain intensity, and what culminates is a pretty blurry sound with very little clarity. Rectifier definitely has a nice bass riff opening the song, but I can't help but feel that it's never expanded upon, nor do the other instruments grip me in the same way the bass did. But the worst offender is Heaven. It's too slow, the guitars feel limp and lack life, and it wasn't exactly a great way to cap off an album that honestly should have been better. But look, I do think there's definitely some quality to be had with this band, but I don't feel this album fully encapsulates what I think the group is capable of. Vocally, I think Musa is a decent vocalist. Not the best in the world, but he suits this punk rock revival genre nicely. I think the lo-fi nature of the album enhances the quality shown here, and instrumentally, the group doesn't do anything overtly awful to the ears. I think lyrically, the group can indulge a little more in pushing the boat out and being more visceral. They can flush out their songs more, and by all means, they can opt for a more restrained approach, but I wholeheartedly believe that when the group go full throttle, they are at their best. Given time, Spring King can produce something that supersedes this record, but there are a few creases that do need ironing out. Overall, I score this album a 71 out of 100.